There's many posts and videos out there explaining you how to create a new number sequence in X++, but they don't actually explain how to use it properly. So if you want to know how to use it properly, to make it consistent with the rest of the application, to make it work when you don't have the number sequence configured on when it's configured as manual or when it's continuous or not, all that stuff is covered. There's a functionality for it. The NumberSeqFormHandler class will do all of that for you. So I'm going to explain in this video not only how to use it, but why using it and what every method does in order for you to never forget how to do it from now on. I've seen many implementations that were buggy, that were a lot of code trying to handle the different scenarios. There's no need for that. There's already this class. So just watch the video with me and let's go through it. So this is our form, okay? When we click new, our NumberSeqFormHandler will automatically make this field not editable. And if I, for example, click new again, it knows there's a number sequence, so it will force you to first save the record, because if not, if you just do it by yourself and you don't implement the number sequence form handler, what will happen here is this. You will see you will click new multiple times, multiple records will be created, the number sequence will start increasing, but none of the records are saved. When you try to save them, you need to fill the mandatory information, and it's a mess. It just don't work properly. Then if I now delete this record that it's not saved and I click new again, it's reusing this 15. Let's say it again, 15. So if I could, obviously this gap is because I've been doing some testing in the middle. Now if I click a new one, 16th, that's because I configure the number sequence to be continuous. So if we go to the place where this is configured, this number sequence, it will respect the configuration that you have done and it will act accordingly. So for example, in this case, let's go to the number sequences ID. This is the new ID I've created. And you can see here, continuous. If I click now manual, save, and I go back to our form, now it will work with manual. You don't have to develop all of this functionality. It won't now make the ID not editable because it knows you are supposed to fill it. And now you can click on new multiple times. Since the number sequence is not configured anymore, it will just work normal. It will allow you to create a new records, but these records are obviously not saved. If I refresh, they were not saved. So how to accomplish all of this? Well, it's fairly simple. The only thing you have to do is to add in the form, you create this variable number sequence form handler and put a descriptive name. In my case, this is the numsec example table, so numsec example ID. Then you instance it like this. The code is in the blog post that you can get it from there. Here you need to create this. Oh, cannot find it, but it's certainly there. You need to do this find reference by the extended type num. Obviously, you will have need to first have created the number sequence. You do it here. The number sequence module retail parameters. In this case, it depends on in what module you want to do it. You need to add your number sequence reference there using the extended type num. That extended type num is going to be used by the ID of my table, and that's more or less it. So that's for creating it, but this is not about creating, this is about using it. So let's go back to the form. In the form, you have this. This is auto, like this will get instantiated the first time we need it. If it's already instantiated, it won't. This is a good way to not allocate the memory if you don't need it, but make sure whenever you use it, you don't get no object reference not set, right? So then in the data source that we are using, it's in this case the data source of this table, then numsec example, and you pass the ID. In that data source, you need to, in the form data source, you need to override a few methods: create, LinkActive, delete, write, ValidateWrite, and why all of this? Well, the PreCreate will validate that the last number that was used is saved or delete before allowing you to create a new one. So that's exactly this. I create a new one, then here, oh sorry, it's configured, sorry. This is configured as manual, so let's go back to the commerce parameters, configure it back to normal, like it used to be. For this example, I want to use the continuous, even when it's not recommended, because it's more visual. FD numsec. Now, if I click on new and click on new again, it will force the save. It won't allow me to go forward with the new record until the old record is saved. So we don't increase the number sequence without that need. That's handled by the form data source create pre. Obviously, the create will increase the number sequence. It will get the number sequence, the number, and it will also make the field, this field, the ID, it will make it not editable or editable based on the configuration of your number sequence. So if the number sequence is configured, this won't be editable. Okay. Then we have the LinkActive and the delete. Both of them do more or less the same. It is making sure when the number sequence is not used anymore, but the record never got saved, to abort that transaction. So the number sequence number doesn't get recorded as being used. We can see it as in this example. If I delete the record with the 17th, if I delete it and I create a new one, it's gonna reuse the 17th. Why? Because of the delete that we did, and the LinkActive does more or less the same, but in other circumstances. I don't want to go into much detail. And then the write will obviously commit that transaction, that is the fact of having allocated a number sequence, and then you commit like saying this is saved, this number sequence is used from now on, so we can't reuse it, or we log that this number sequence is being used actually. Until you don't save the record, that number sequence, it's not committed, let's say. And then the ValidateWrite. The ValidateWrite validates that from the moment you created the record until now, it can have passed many like much time, because you are configuring other fields and So when you click on save, maybe that record, that number sequence number was already used by somebody else, or it's no longer available. Because we have to think that you might think, okay, but if that's the case, the ValidateWrite will fail just vanilla without this, because it will detect there's another record with that ID. Yes, but you have to think that there's more functionality out there. Out of the box, you can assign the same number sequence to many different records. And if you want that number sequence to not be repeated, that it's what we want, then this ValidateWrite is crucial, because here you're validating that that number sequence is not being used, maybe by another record, right? So these are basically the methods, and I wanted to explain you because I always like to not blindly follow a post, just understand what I am doing. So I wanted you to understand what's the value of using the number sequence form handler, why to use it, and why every single method. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this and this is useful for you. And please don't forget to use it from now on. I've seen many implementations that were buggy just because they didn't know this class existed.